Good morning, everyone. I'm here in this beautiful tennis court, and I'd like to share with you something that comes up a lot, especially when your juniors, when your junior player is starting to get better. Okay, so the question is, should you take private lessons or should you take group lessons? And the fact is that you have to have both. You cannot have private lessons all the time, because then you're basically practicing with the coach and you're rallying with the coach, and the coach is giving you, a very nice rally, very calculated ball. And the private lessons should be really for shot production. So you're learning shots in the private lesson. You're paying a lot of money for private lessons, so you should get your money's worth and basically polish your shots. Make sure that you are getting to know more shots. There are 82 shots in the game, so you need to know those shots. And doesn't mean that you have to have all 82 shots to play a great game. You can have 20 and still play amazing tennis. But once you have those shots, you have to polish them, because one thing is knowing the shot, like a step-in forehand or an inside out. Another thing is actually executing that inside out and that step-in forehand or whatever else, the attack shots or the spike volleys or the overheads, in a real rally or in a real point, right? So you do that in the private lesson. Now, the group lesson, I like to group players of the same ability. And when you have players of the same ability playing against each other, they're not hitting you this nice crisp ball. Sometimes they hit you a lollipop like this, sometimes they give you a slice, sometimes they give you a topspin, sometimes they hit you a flat shot, and sometimes the ball is short, sometimes the ball is deep. And with the group, we can do what we call drills. And a drill, just like a fire drill, is basically an exercise that you do in a building in case of a fire. You know exactly where to exit, or you know exactly how many how many steps you need to take to the nearest exit, and that's a drill. That's a fire drill. Well, on the group, we do drills where one player is attacking and the other player is defending. I call those drills attack and defend. And you learn also the score system. Okay, sometimes we practice the traditional score, 15, 30, 40 game, and sometimes we do actually just play 10 points and to just make it easier. But that point playing system and that rally and those drills, you're not going to do in a private lesson with a coach. You're going to do it with other players that are of your same or similar ability. Now, you're supposed to practice in the group lesson the same shots that you learn in your private lesson, right? Now, there's another element in the equation. You have to have a test. Okay, so just like when you go to school, you learn the information, and then the teacher comes into the classroom and say, okay, guys, today we're going to have a quiz. Okay, so that you get tested. In tennis, the test is the match. When you play a match, but a match that counts, okay, like for example, a ladder match, because you're in a ladder position and you're challenging the person above you, or somebody's challenging you, right? That's a real match. If you you call your uncle and you say, hey, uncle, I know you play tennis. I need you to play you. I'm going to play you for $20, okay? And you bet $20 for the match. Okay, so then you make it a little more exciting, so that's a $20 match. I'm not saying that you should be betting, but if it's a high school match, right, you play against your other high school players. If it's a middle school match, you play against another one of your middle school players. And that is the test. And what are you testing? Well, you're testing that you can call the score. You're testing that you can rally. And that you can call the lines. If the ball's coming close to the line, you're supposed to know that you're supposed to either call it in or out, you know, play it in or call it out. So those are the kind of things that come into the match, okay? So basically you have three things that you should do to develop your game to your highest. Number one, private lessons. Number two, group lessons. Number three, match play. Now, what if you don't, what if you cannot afford doing all those three at the same time, you know, in the same month? Okay, so 1 month you do private lessons, and then the next month you try to do some group lessons, and the next month, you know, you try to do some tests or some match play. Or you can do one lesson, let's say 1 month you do one lesson a week, private lesson. And then on the second month, maybe you spread it a little farther, you know, two private lessons for the month. And then maybe the third month, you only one private lesson. It doesn't matter as long as you mix the three ingredients: private lesson, drills, match play, okay? Ideally, of course, you want to do all three simultaneously, you know, right on the same month. But if you can't, then spread them apart, you know, whether you can't because financially it's impossible or because maybe you just don't have the time, you know. You still want to develop your game, but you don't have the time. So when you do have the time, you need to execute the best possible way of improving, right? So you spend time taking your private lessons, right? You spend time working with a group. You spend time playing a match. Okay, I hope this makes clear, you know, because when people ask me what is better, the group lesson or the private lesson, there's two different animals here, or, you know, two different types of fruits. I mean, you can't be comparing them and saying this is better than that, you know. Like some people say, well, I'm going to do private lessons, and that's all they do: private lessons, private lessons, private lessons. That's not good. Okay, if you do group lessons, group lessons, group lessons, and not a single private lesson, that's not good either. You know, some people just play tournaments and they just play matches and tournaments, and that's not good either. Okay, you don't want to have one element alone. You gotta mix them up. You learn, you practice, you test it. Now, obviously, after your matches, so you're either gonna win or lose, right? So what if you have a private lesson, and then you have your group workouts, and then you go and play a match and you lose? Okay, and then what if you play another match and then you lose? And then you play another match and then you lose? Well, that's already 3 losses. So you need to go back to the private lesson and tell your coach, hey coach, I just lost my last 3 matches. What am I doing wrong? Right? Simple as that. Because you don't want to be having loss after loss after loss. Okay, in another video, I'm going to show you how actually, what percentage is the best for you to have when you play your matches. All right, hasta que más. Take it easy.